Hey guys and girls, Board now back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about Stranger Things 5, Chapter 2, The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler. And I'll get straight into it. I really liked this episode. I liked it even more than episode 1 of the season. I think because it was a little bit more focused, and I really liked the way the main plot was going in the episodes. So my complaints about Karen are pretty much gone now, because she really kicks ass in the opening part of this episode and puts herself on the line for Holly at the start, and just reminds me why she is one of the great TV mums, maybe ever. Demogorgon is stomping around Holly's room and going after her. Holly's screaming, and neither Karen nor Ted notices this until very late on, which is kind of ridiculous. Karen I can understand a bit more, because at that point she was like really drunk, and she's also got the water running for a bar. In music, I think Fernando from ABBA she's playing this time, so there's a bit more noise from her point of view distracting her, and probably her being very dozy because of the booze as well isn't really helping, so I can understand a bit more with her. But Ted's got no excuse, because he's been outside playing golf in the dark for ages, and it's very isolated and silent out there, so him not noticing sooner is really ridiculous. Anyway, Karen having her kick-ass Ellen Ripley moment trying to protect her daughter, only using a wine bottle instead of the flamethrower which Ellen Ripley had, is just brilliant. It's great because her instincts are so good. I love the fact that even in her hazy state, she has the whereabouts to like pull her and Holly under the bathwater to try and throw off the Demogorgon. Ted comes in, goes all postal with his golf club, but is sent flying. So I like that even he has a little moment, even though this isn't so much about him. It's more about Karen trying to protect her daughter and stepping up. And yeah, later on, her with the wine bottle trying to fend off the Demogorgon, saying stay away from my daughter is so good. And the whole direction in this opening part of the episode is just bang on. The way they use the slow motion shots to reveal what happened after that point, with Nancy and Al slowly getting towards the house and finding Karen bleeding out, like pretty much dying in front of Nancy. It's brutal stuff, and she points towards the opening in the wall, which I think is one of the best shots of the whole episode, maybe the shot of the episode, just revealing that that's where the Demogorgon took Holly inside to the Upside Down, and how proactive Nancy is from that point on, sending Al into the Upside Down, saying go and get Holly, and then taking her mother to the hospital. And her and Mike in this episode working together at the hospital, it's a lot of fun, because one thing you realise watching this episode with her and Mike together is that even though they're brother and sister in the show, because of various storylines keeping them apart, Nancy obviously with her like romantic interest with Jonathan and Steve before that, and then other things, and Mike because you typically see him more with his group of friends, then you actually don't see them that often working together, like just those two. And that's another good thing this episode does well, is it throws up different dynamics that maybe we haven't seen so often, or in one case we haven't really seen these two characters before. So that's all really good, and I think that's why the episode is so good, like, and even better than the first one, because it is more focused, and the mystery elements are feeling really tight again, a bit like season 4. So I think you can almost treat season 4 and 5 as maybe one long season finale, almost like they just run into each other, and definitely reclaiming some of those early season vibes. So that's great stuff. Nancy blaming herself for not getting her family out of Hawkins sooner and heeding Vecna's warning from last season is a nice bit of connecting the dots. There's another good example of that in a small scene in the episode where Elle patches up Hopper inside the Upside Down, and when he asks, "Where did you learn how to do that?" she says she learned it from Max. So that's a callback, I think, to season 3, when they were starting to get along more and work together. But it's a very subtle callback to a previous season, which I really appreciate, and also reminds us of Max's importance to Elle. So that's really great stuff. Nancy's frenetic reactions at the hospital are very convincing. I think Natalia Dyer is probably the MVP of the episode, her and Karen, because of the opening, but I don't think season 1 Dyer could have pulled that performance off, really. She's great in that scene. She's my MVP, like I said. Also, Lucas's speech is a good moment for him, as he suggests it's maybe not even Vecna responsible. Why would he send one of his minions? And because he's brought that up there, I'm assuming that there's going to be something to his theory. And he also reminds them of the date, and it's just 3 days until the anniversary of Will being taken. In other words, we've been through this before and survived, so we can do it again. He and Mike both reassure Nancy that if one person can bring Holly back, it's Elle. So reinforcing that history matters, and it makes their belief greater. And I appreciate Lucas chipping in with his own ideas and theories and the back and forth. It just helps to build up the mystery and shows them being very proactive again, which is always good to see in this show. Yeah, as I said, this episode good for throwing up character dynamics like Mike and Nancy pretending to be a doctor and nurse. Really loved that. Mike's fake limp was gold too. Nancy's line about not trusting doctors who smoke or call her sweetheart is another gem. And I wonder if that's more to that, like, are they suggesting that the doctor might turn out to be working for the government? Because the whole deal is that they managed to sneak past reception and then get up to the ward, but then the doctor wasn't willing to let them get in to speak to Karen because they want to speak to her. Because Mike has this theory about Mr. Whatsit being real, because he says it's suspicious that Holly was taken the very week her imaginary friend returns. And he takes a very Mulder-style leap that if Mr. Whatsit is real after all, they bring this up to Karen, who can't speak. So she writes the description of Mr. Whatsit and his name, the name Holly gave to her, which nicely links up to the Robin and Will scene. Another fun dynamic in this episode as they arrive at the site of where Will was taken all those years ago. Will tells Robin that he saw everything from Vecna's eyes. Robin earlier in the episode set this up as being like a conduit or radio signal, so he could see the next victim. Holly, which means, of course, the name Karen is writing down is Henry. We cut to Holly talking to Henry as the imaginary friend at school before he leads her into the house we saw in season 4. Cut to credits and a nice dose of Mr. Sandman. Very great music cue. This was logical and so affected that Vecna would get into Holly's head that way. Very Freddy Krueger-esque again. I know some people say it was predictable and glaringly obvious. It actually wasn't to me. Like, they played it very well, I think, because you had Holly like drifting in and out, and they managed to play her part down a little bit in episode 1. Like, I was definitely getting ideas that it could be Vecna in that opening scene of episode 1, but after that, I think the way they played it and the misdirection, they did enough of that where they sort of threw me off the scent. And like, I'm definitely not surprised it's Vecna, and it's definitely, like, if it is predictable, it's a good sort of predictable, but it's not. I think they played it just about right, and just linking everything up the way they did with the Will stuff and then the Karen stuff. It was just so satisfying at the end, and so it wasn't a big deal if it was predictable anyway. Other highlights in the episode, as I mentioned, the Will and Robin stuff. Robin tricking Joyce with the Back to the Future reference. Flux capacitor was glorious. Joyce is old and hasn't seen Back to the Future, of course. It's weird to be saying that about Winona Ryder, considering I grew up with her, but there you go. Dustin, Steve and Jonathan's reaction to Joyce talking about it was probably the laugh of the episode, and they also sussed that it's code for something else, which was pretty cool. By the way, that group, the trio of them, you know, there's some fresh potential in that, because we've had lots of stuff with Dustin and Steve, so, and I always enjoy them anyway, so I'm never going to get tired of that. But just throwing Jonathan into the mix, it gives him something else to do, because he's a character who has grown a little bit stale in the last couple of seasons, so throwing him in does that give him something a bit more to do. And by the way, Jonathan overreacting to Steve's innocent suggestion that they take Nancy Flowers by calling him a misogynist, the nerve, and egomaniac is way over the top. Him wanting to stick to the mission is a bit selfish as well, although I do get why he wants to do that, but he sort of seems like he's very much burying his head in the sand. Steve hits back by saying that there's nothing strange about being concerned about a good friend, and that if Jonathan and Nancy communicated better, maybe they'd be happy. And that's a fair point. That's sort of a running theme with their relationship at this point. He probably goes a bit too far, but he doesn't come across as jerky as Jonathan did. It's this scene that makes me think that maybe Jonathan and Nancy, if they both make it out alive of the series, may well end up together, and that Steve's advice will help that. Later on, they bump into a beaten up Dustin. He and Steve fight over who's to blame for the situation, which was hilarious. Jonathan shouts at them to shut up. And I love Steve telling Dustin, I happen to agree with him on that advice. Awkward silence. So Steve's getting a bit more into his groove this episode. I thought he was a bit of a weaker part of the last episode, but he's getting more into the groove now, like interacting with Dustin again and throwing a bit of the rivalry with Jonathan in there. More enjoyable Steve this episode, I thought. Robin working with Will, as I said, is a fun dynamic. After last episode, Robin broaches the hospital stuff, asks Will if he was at the hospital. He denies it. She explains that if you were there, I need you to keep what you saw under wraps. So it confirms then it was about Robin's sexuality really, and her not being willing to come out. But Will's shocked reaction to me was still a bit random. Like, I don't know if it's because he has a crush on Robin, so just seeing that shocked him, or if it's just that he literally didn't know she was lesbian, so he just had that reaction. But again, as I said in the last review, it's a little bit weird, because if we are to believe that he himself is gay, I'm not sure he would be that shocked if he saw, her with another gal. But anyway, I was happy enough with that scene and how it cleared things up. He then gets distracted and they get more good stuff with them heading to the spot, which I've already covered. Also good stuff with Hopper and Al in the Upside Down. We flash back to his daughter Sarah once again, who he calls the bravest person ever. And some of this we've covered before, but confirming why he's being overprotected of Eleven. Her line about him not being a stubborn asshole was funny as well. Later, Al finds Holly's boot in front of the big wall in the Upside Down and assumes that she was taken behind it. So, to be continued. So, it's a really great episode. Very good. Even better than the last one, I think. I think my main complaint is that there's a couple of characters who once again only really have cameos, and Linda Hamilton again gets one small scene, and it's more throwaway this time. I think her scene last episode was better just because it was quite a snappy scene and did a good job of introducing her character and getting across her personality. This one did feel a bit more random and throwaway, and it just stands out that it's the second episode in a row where she's only got on one scene. And I don't want it to go on like this. Obviously, I know she's not a main character and stuff, and she doesn't need to be in it all the time. It's just because it's Linda Hamilton, and introducing her in the final season as Branna's replacement, that should be quite a big role. And I'm not that concerned. There's definitely still time to give her more to do. It's just a worry because there are a lot of characters to juggle this season, because on that point we haven't had Erica yet in the season. She hasn't appeared once in the first two episodes, which is funny because she is in the main cast officially. It could just be that thing of, because they've got so many characters at this point, then they're waiting to introduce her into the season. But so I'm assuming by episode 3 she'll be there in some way, I'm guessing. But yeah, that's funny too. But we'll see about Linda Hamilton. Again, it's not like she has to be a massive character or dominating an episode. It's just, I think as we go along, you would hope she would have a little bit more to do. And also with Max this episode, once again, easy money for Sadie Sink, because she does the thing where she's in a coma. Lucas is at her bedside, pleads with her to come back because they really need her, and plays Kate Bush. And this is the thing, I mean, the end of the scene is the different, because she finally reacts and her heart rate starts going up. So that seems to set up that we're probably going to get her back next episode. It's just because it's virtually the same scene again as last episode, only really different at the end. And so it's a bit repetitive, and it's the second episode in a row where Max has only really had a cameo in the hospital bed. And so if they're going to bring her back, which they clearly are because she's in the main cast this season, then yeah, it's time to get that emotion. I think it's more understandable out of the two because they do have to sell them. Max is in a coma, and if they just brought her back straight away, it would feel a bit cheap. But it's just because it was a very pretty much almost identical scene to the last one in episode 1. But there you go. We'll see what happens with Max next episode, but it does look like we'll be getting her back, which is always good because she's one of the best characters of the show, I think. So that was just a little frustrated, but that's about it, really. I mean, those are my only nitpicks, and that's a very good sign. I thought it was, yeah, really strong episode, and the season's heading in a very exciting direction, and I really can't wait to see what's going to happen now with the Holly stuff and the Vecna stuff and the Will stuff. It's all shaping up very promising. So that's my review of Stranger Things, episode 2 of season 5, The Vanishing of Holly. I almost said Holly Byers because, of course, it's Will Byers in the first season, but no, Holly Wheeler. So let me know what you guys think of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and also do keep it spoiler free for after this episode, because I am watching these one at a time and reviewing them one at a time, and I should get to episode 3 tomorrow. So thanks everyone, take care, and I'll see you again soon.